Mother-in-law stole my handicap placard and crashed my car while drunk. We went no contact. Here is what happened. Subscribe to Ripe on YouTube and hit the bell to turn on notifications. To start, let us introduce the main characters in this story. First is my mother-in-law, who I will refer to as Karen, because she has done enough crap to earn that title. Despite me loving her son to death, I never want anything to do with this woman. She is the kind of mother-in-law that will try and take over your wedding to make it about herself. I will talk more about her in a little bit anyway. The second and only other character is me. I have an autoimmune disease called lupus, and here in Belgium that qualifies me to get a handicap parking placard to put on my car. A little background about the lupus disease for those that don't know: it's considered an invisible illness because you cannot see it. When it flares up, my body is essentially attacking itself, causing a great deal of pain. Sometimes my joints hurt so badly that I can barely move. When I feel fine, I don't use the handicap parking, but when walking is painful and difficult, I use it. Karen thinks that since it is not constant and she does not see anything wrong with me, that I am not actually disabled. When I use the handicap parking, she says that I am just being lazy and I am too young to have joint pain. We have tried to explain my disease to her, but she does not care enough to listen and only wants to be right about it. One day we hear that she is going on vacation, and personally I'm so happy about that. She does not live too far away and sometimes likes to pop in without warning, which ruins my day. At least with her driving out of the country, I know that I will have a little bit of peace. I noticed the day that she was supposed to leave that my car is just no longer in the driveway. I asked my husband if he moved it and he told me that he didn't. I had a sinking feeling about what happened and my husband had the same one. He told me to hold on and that he would call his mother to see what was going on. From his side of the conversation, I gathered that she was saying how she had permission to use my car, which she didn't. I guess in her mind, telling us she was going on a trip was the same as asking to take my car. She said that she needed my car because the parking would be so bad where she was going and she was far too old to walk from a normal spot. That then made me realize the entire thing was about wanting my car so she could use and abuse my parking permit. I was livid and wanted to call the police and report that my car was stolen. The only thing that was stopping me was my husband. He asked me not to call the police on his mom and have her arrested for theft. As much as I hated her, I did not want to start a huge fight with my husband about this. Also, I happened to be in a flare-up and in so much pain that I really just wanted to go and lie down. I told him that he needs to call her and tell her the only way I won't call the police is if she turns around and comes home now. I was not going to let her keep it the entire vacation and take advantage of my disease. She was in no way disabled and could move perfectly fine. It really was ironic after her telling me that I was the one being lazy when I had to park close. While today was my day off from work, I was going to try and force myself to go in the next day. That was not going to happen without my car, and Paz and husband promised to get her to bring the car back. What I did not expect was only a couple hours later to get a call from the police. It turns out that Karen decided the rules of drinking and driving did not apply to her and she could just drive my car while drunk. Anyway, since I was not there, I don't know exactly what happened, but long story short, she crashed my car into a tree. She was totally fine, but kept telling them that the car damage was my responsibility because it was my car. I was not dealing with this and told the police that she did not have permission to be driving my car. I also told them that if she told them she was disabled, to not fall for it because I could prove the handicap placard was mine and not hers. Turns out she actually tried to tell them that she had lupus, but because she never listens and was slightly drunk, she kept telling them that she had that loopy disease, and if they didn't stay back from her, it might spread. I'll admit, that kind of made me laugh during this entirely stressful situation. She had her license taken away for reckless driving, driving under the influence and driving a stolen vehicle. I was nice and agreed with my husband not to press charges against his mother for stealing the car. The repair though was going to be entirely on her, and you can bet she complained every single time she could about it. She was saying if she was going to pay to fix the car, that meant it was part hers and she could borrow it and my placard whenever she wanted. This was finally the point that my very sweet and nice husband snapped and started yelling at his mother. He told her that no, she could not drive my car because she did not even have a license. She stole a car and drove drunk, and he was never going to let her borrow any car again in her life. He also ranted about how I have a disease and the stress that she is constantly causing does not help me at all. He told her finally that if she was ever going to come over to our house again, she was going to be invited, otherwise we were not going to let her in. She had crossed the line and he was not going to let me suffer because his mother thought that the world revolved around her. I wish I could say that something in her snapped into place and she finally changed, but instead she handled it like a real Karen and then went on a rant of her own about how marrying me ruined her son, how my lupus was not a real thing and she was going to get me arrested and thrown in jail for making up some fake disease. After more back and forth, we finally got her out of the house and slammed the door behind her. I really don't know how somebody could steal a car from somebody else to abuse their handicap parking, then crash the car drunk into a tree, try to get me in trouble for it, and then still act like I'm the bad person because of something my body cannot help. Please remember that sometimes people who have special parking might not always look like something is wrong with them. Not everybody is in a wheelchair or on crutches, some are like me and have things going on inside our bodies that are invisible to the world. We are real and the Karens like my mother-in-law just make it that much harder for us to go and live our lives. And yeah guys, I don't even know where to start with this story, but all I gotta say is, I am happy for OP that her husband at least showed a little bit of a shiny spine. That is probably one of the worst mother-in-laws I've ever heard about. The next one is titled Entitled Karen Coworker Part 1. My current job is not horrible, but it is not exactly easy either. I work for 12 or so hours with roughly 50 to 60 other people every other day. There are 5 different lines all doing their own thing, occasionally helping other lines out. I work on the opposite side of the building of this person, so they are not part of my line. I decided to buy cookies for my line to be nice and continue being on good ends with everyone so work would be okay. However, the Karen saw the box of cookies, mind you, I only had 7 because that is how many people are on my line, and she came up to me and asked for one, and since someone on my line said they didn't want one, I said she could and gave her one. I told Karen she can only have one and she nodded like she heard. I was going to have a cookie during lunch break and so was someone else on my line. There was only 2 cookies left in the box, mine and the nice lady. I left my box with my coat and went to work, but when lunch came I went to get the box and found it was empty. I was confused and asked if anyone has seen who took the cookies in the box. They told me that Karen had taken them both. I was pissed. I confronted her after the break and she said, "Well, nobody else was eating them, so why does it matter? You can just get more." I told her one of them was mine for lunch break and the other was for the nice lady on my line to have later. She then got fuzzy and said she did not know she couldn't have more, and I told her that I said she could only have the one she took. I told her she was greedy and a thief and now she glares daggers at me all the time. I want to be able to bring sweets for my line to enjoy, but I don't want her sticking her grubby hands into the box to steal them. I don't know what to do, and before you say, inform the supervisor or report her, I have. Nothing happened. I don't know what to do next, but I hate that she took away something I could do for my line just because she is greedy. Update to the Karen coworker story. I made some donut holes and covered them with sugar. I made 2 separate batches, one for my line and one for the revenge. When they were cooling, I injected the revenge batch with hot sauce, more specifically the Da Bomb Insanity hot sauce. If you know it and tried it, you know it is hot, so I did not add enough to really hurt someone, just a bit in the middle. On to the plan. I brought the treats with me to work and made sure Karen knew I had them. When I set them on my line's desk, I gave my line the good batch to eat and went to work. I waited about half an hour to give her ample time to grab the bag, and of course when I went over I noticed both bags gone and just grinned. Within minutes I watched as Karen was running across the lines to get to the bathroom while holding mouth in her hands. She stayed in there for quite a while, not sure how long exactly, but when she came out she marched right over to me and started yelling about how I tried to kill her with poison. I just shrugged and said, acting clueless, "I don't know what you're talking about, Karen. I just came over to eat my special batch of donut holes I made for myself, only to find them gone. Did you eat them?" She paused, realizing quickly we were being watched now. She slunk away and I was just grinning. I got called to the supervisor office later and went up to be greeted by the supervisor and Karen. I was asked why Karen was saying I tried to poison her, and I said, "Well sir, I didn't. I made donut holes with a bit of really spicy hot sauce in the middle and was going to eat them, but they went missing." And then Karen here came to me and basically admitted to stealing and eating my sweets. Or in this case, my spicy treats. It's not my fault she did not ask. You can check the cameras and you will see her stealing my food. Suddenly the Almighty did not look so almighty anymore. I was told to go back and she came out of the office later grumbling angrily. I'm guessing she was told off this time for being caught stealing, and I have not had issues from her since. But I'm not sure if it will last. She does not even try to talk to me anymore, she just glares daggers. The next one is titled Continuous Petty Revenge. This is my proudest act of petty revenge, just so you all know. Almost 25 years ago, I scraped every last penny I had to buy a house. I was 7 months pregnant and already had a young daughter. We decided to exchange and complete on the same day as the house was vacant possession. On the day of completion, I get a call from my solicitor to say the lady selling the house won't complete the sale unless we agree to pay an additional £500 for some curtains and carpet. I really did not have a choice as I was moving out of a rented house the same day. The money I was forced to use had been saved to provide for the impending baby and a fridge. I went without a fridge for 2 months and had to take hand-me-downs for baby equipment. Roll on a couple of months later and a letter from the bank arrived for the seller. Being nosy, I opened it to find it was a quarterly dividend check. I dropped it straight in the bin as I thought I would deprive her as she deprived me. 25 years later, we are about to complete the sale on this house. The checks have arrived every quarter for our entire ownership like clockwork and have been filed straight in the bin. I am sure the new owners will be much nicer than me and return the letters to the bank from which they were sent. I am happy I have deprived the previous owner of their money for 25 years. And I can only hope they fell on hard times and this money would have made a real difference to them. Revenge is petty, but oh so sweet. And the next one is titled Revenge on My Ex. Have you ever dated someone that you knew might be trouble, but you did it anyway even if there were numerous red flags? Well, unfortunately I did. I dated a guy for several years. Admittedly, I knew he had a history of cheating, but like everyone in that position, I somehow convinced myself that us being friends before would stop him from being so awful to me. Naturally, I was incorrect. He began to mistreat me, blame me for every negative in his life. He suffered from addiction and refused to speak to a therapist, just lashed out at me no matter how I tried to help. Finally, I became physically ill and he began to pull away when I really needed support because I was supposedly too much for him. At this point, I should give relevant information. He was in a band. He refused to work or do anything productive in case it got in the way of his band. He had worked part-time off and on, but it was pulling teeth to get him to hold on to these jobs to even pay his rent. He ended up mooching off of family and friends. I would not pay his bills and he resented me deeply for it by this stage. So, one night the band had a party. Usually I'd be there, but I was not feeling well and went to sleep early. I woke up to a half-dozen messages of girls who knew me, letting me know my ex-boyfriend at the time was cheating on me. He told me it was not true when confronted, but eventually it came out that he had been continually cheating on me with at least 2 to 3 women, one of whom was a minor. We broke up and he ended up starting a relationship with said minor, and the whole thing was really creepy. But I was gutted less so over the relationship, but more because it forced a lot of our friends to pick sides, and unfortunately, as I was not in the band, it left me mostly in the losing side. Once I stopped feeling bad for myself, I decided the best thing to do to cheer myself up was to be as petty as possible. Firstly, I went to get my stuff from his place. As he never worked much, most of what he had was bought by me. I took all of his laundry baskets, sheets, any clean socks and underwear I could find, some even dirty, I did not discriminate too much, any stray screws, guitar picks, light bulbs, etc., and threw it all in the laundry baskets. Then I dropped said laundry baskets in a nearby dumpster, knowing I had caused him that inconvenience made me feel a teensy bit better. Then I began a different maneuver. From that point on, anytime I thought of him and became upset or annoyed, or he or his new girlfriend posted about me, which was surprisingly often, I would use his band email or phone number and input them into those marketing campaigns in exchange for in-game currency for whatever game I was playing. Posting about me on social media? Okay, I will just spend 20 minutes putting your phone number into every marketing campaign I can find. Hearing stories about him talking badly about me at parties? Bet that email address won't be very useful from now on. It was small, but knowing how much mild irritation I could cause for him and his band without having to engage was greatly cathartic. It's also more or less become my standard form of petty revenge for anyone who irritates me now, because I hope you like 30+ insurance agents calling. Edit, because no one reads the comments for important details. This was in answer to why I did not say I contacted the police. Firstly, it would not be petty, and secondly, her parents did. By the time they were public, she had just turned 17 and no authority wanted to do anything, because by the time it went to court, she would be 18 or almost 18. She did end up dropping out of high school to move in with him and avoid truancy issues. It's really very tragic on her part, so I did not involve her with any of the pettiness. Her parents tried to get involved, but there was not much they could do. Another edit, myself and several people did get together to notify authorities, but we spoke to her brother and apparently everyone in her family was aware and okay with it. Up until she started missing school. I have no excuses for them. There was also a lot of deeply poor parenting going on there, but she had a reputation for being very open to sleeping with older men, one that I actually interfered with. I made a point to tell everyone who spoke with her and any other girls her age at parties she showed up to that she was a minor and preventing guys from getting close. She was not a fan of me at all. And yeah guys, I would say this was pretty decent petty revenge, but I feel like this sort of dude deserved even bigger revenge. But sometimes on r/petty revenge, that's all you get. Thank you very much for watching. I hope to see you again tomorrow.